The calendar, December, month of the divine infancy. Each day of the month of December from the Book of Heaven, volume 2 through 36 by the servant of God, Luisa Picaretta. For private use. December 1st, 1922, volume 15. Jesus did and suffered everything in the divine will. What true reigning is. I was thinking about the passion of my sweet Jesus, and I felt those pains so close to me as if he were suffering them at that very moment. And looking at me, he told me, "My daughter, I suffered all pains in my will, and as I suffered them, they opened many ways in my will to reach each creature. Had I not suffered in my will, which envelops everything, my pains would not have reached you and everyone. They would have remained with my humanity. Even more because I suffered them in my will, not only did they open many ways in order to reach creatures, but they opened as many other ways in order to let creatures enter into me, unite themselves with those pains, and give me, each one of them, the pains which, with their offenses, they would give me throughout the course of all centuries. And while I was under the storm of the blows, my will brought me each creature to strike me. So it was not just the ones who scourged me, but the creatures, from all times, would concur in my barbarous scourging with their offenses. The same with all other pains. My will brought me everyone. No one was absent from roll call. Everyone was present to me. No one escaped me. This is why my pains were, oh, how much harder, how much more numerous than those which could be seen. Therefore, if you want your offerings of my pains, your compassion and reparation, your little pains, not only to reach me, but to follow the same ways as mine, let everything enter into my will, and all generations will receive their effects. And this not only with my pains, but also with my words, because being spoken in my will, they reached everyone. As for example, when Pilate asked me whether I was king, and I answered, "My kingdom is not of this world, for if it were of this world, millions of legions of angels would defend me." And Pilate, on seeing me so poor, humiliated, despised, was surprised, and said with greater emphasis, "What? You are a king?" And I with firmness answered him and all those who are in his position, "I am king, and I have come into the world to teach the truth. And the truth is that it is not positions, nor kingdoms, nor dignities, nor the right of command that make man reign, that ennoble him, that raise him above all. On the contrary, these things are slaveries, miseries, which make him serve vile passions and unjust men, making him also commit many unjust acts which disennoble him, cast him into mud, and draw the hatred of his subordinates upon him. So riches are slaveries, positions are swords, by which many are killed or wounded. True reigning is virtue, to be stripped of everything, to sacrifice oneself for all, to submit oneself to all. This is true reigning, which binds all and makes one loved by all. Therefore my kingdom will have no end, while yours is near to perishing. And in my will I made these words reach the ear of all those who are in positions of authority, to let them know the great danger they are in, and to put on guard those who aspire to positions, to dignities, to command. December 1st, 1924, Volume 17. How the Divine Will, rejected by creatures, feels the death of the rejected good. I felt embittered to the highest degree, and as I was praying, I cried over my hard destiny of being deprived of the one who formed my whole life. My state is irreparable. No one is moved to pity for me. Everything is justice. And then who would be moved to compassion for me if the one who is the source of compassion denies it to me? Now, as I was crying and crying, I felt my hands being grabbed by the hands of Jesus, and raising me up high, he said, "Come, you all, to see a scene so great and never seen before, either in heaven or on earth, a soul dying continuously out of pure love for me." At these words of Jesus, the heavens opened and the whole celestial hierarchy looked at me. I too looked at myself, and I saw my poor soul withered and dying, like a flower which is about to bend over its own stem. But while I was dying, a secret virtue gave me life. Alas, maybe this is the punishing justice of God that is justly punishing me. My God, my Jesus, have pity on me, pity on a poor dying. I have the hardest destiny among all poor mortals, to die without being able to die. So my sweet Jesus held me in his arms for almost the whole night, to give me strength and to assist me in my agony. I thought that he would finally have compassion for me and would bring me with him, but in vain. After he cheered me up quite a bit, he left me, saying, "My daughter, my will is receiving continuous deaths on the part of creatures. It is life, and as life, it wants to give the life of light. But the creature rejects this light, and since she does not receive it, this light dies to the creature, and my will feels the pain of the death that the creature has given to this light. My will wants to make known the qualities and the virtues it contains, but the creature rejects this knowledge. And so for the creature, my will dies to this knowledge and to the qualities and the virtues that my will contains. And my will feels the pain of the death that the creature has given to the virtues and the qualities of my will. In the same way, if it wants to give love and it is not received, it feels the death given to love. If it wants to give sanctity, grace, it feels like receiving from the creature death to the sanctity and the grace it wants to give. So it is a continuous death that it feels as being given to the good it wants to give. And then don't you feel within yourself the continuous death that my will suffers? By living in it, you are forced, as though naturally, to take part in these deaths which my will suffers, and to live in a state of continuous agony. On hearing this, I said, "Jesus, my love, it doesn't seem to me to be so. It is your privation that kills me, that takes life away from me without making me die." And Jesus, "The privation of me on one side, my will on the other, which keeping you absorbed in itself, makes you share in its pains. My daughter, the true living in my will implies this: there is not one pain that my will receives from the creatures which it does not share with the soul who lives in it." December 1st, 1927, Volume 23, Strength of the Celestial Mamma in the Privations of Jesus. Strength that the little daughter of his will must have. Power of the acts done in the divine will. How they are the outpouring of God. I was feeling totally without my highest good, Jesus, and as much as I asked for him, I could not manage to find him. So I felt tortured and embittered in an unspeakable way. My words don't have the terms to manifest my sorrow. Therefore I move on. Then, after long days of martyrdom and of abandonment in that divine fiat, my beloved Jesus moved in my interior and told me, "My daughter, I want from you the same strength of mind of the celestial sovereign lady, who reached the point of loving the divine will more than the very humanity of her Son, Jesus." How many times the divine will commanded us to separate from each other, and I had to go far away from her, and she had to remain without me, without following me. And she stayed with such strength and peace as to place her very Son after the divine fiat. So much so that the divine fiat, enraptured by such strength, bilocated the Son of my divine will, and while remaining with my mamma, centralized in her, it remained centralized in me. The sun bilocated itself, but the light remained as one, extending, but without ever separating from both centers of the bilocated sun. The sovereign queen had received everything from my will: fullness of grace, sanctity, sovereignty over everything, and even the fecundity to be able to give life to her Son. My will had given her everything, and had denied her nothing. So when my will wanted me to go far away, with heroic strength she would give back to the divine will what she had received. The heavens were stupefied in seeing the strength, the heroism of she who, yet they knew, loved me more than her very life. So I would like to see the little daughter of my divine will, strong, peaceful, and with heroism, giving your Jesus back to the divine will when it wants you to remain without him. I would rather not see you disheartened, melancholic, but with the strength of the celestial mamma. And just as for the sovereign Queen of Heaven, the separation was only external and apparent, but internally the divine volition kept us fused together and inseparable. So it will be with you. My volition will keep you fused within me, and we will do the same acts together, without ever separating. After this, I continued my acts in the divine fiat, and feeling that I was not doing them well, I prayed my celestial mamma to come to my help, that I might be able to follow that supreme volition that she had loved so much, and from which she recognized having received all her glory and the height at which she finds herself. But while I was thinking of this, my lovable Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, all the acts of my Queen Mother, done in my will, are all in waiting, for they want the retinue of the acts of the creature done in it. So in everything you do in my volition, it is these acts that come to your help. Even more, they line up around you to administer to you some the light, some the grace, some the sanctity, and some the very act that you do, so as to have the retinue of these noble, holy, and divine acts. These acts are the outpouring of God, and as he feeds them to the creature, she is filled so much that, unable to contain them, she pours them out again and gives her divine acts to her Creator. Therefore they form the greatest glory that the creature can give to he who created her. There is no good that does not descend through these acts done in the divine volition. They place everything in motion, heavens, earth, and God himself. They are the divine motion of the creature, and it was by virtue of these acts that the celestial sovereign lady made the Word move to descend upon earth. Therefore she awaits the retinue of her acts, so as to move God to make our supreme will come to reign upon earth. They are the triumph of God over the creature, and the divine weapons with which the creature conquers God. Therefore, continue your acts in my will, and you will have divine helps in your power, as well as those of the Sovereign Queen. End of December 1st. Fiat.